Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. And today from McFarlane Toys, in their DC Multiverse line, we have the Gold Label Collection Deathstroke. But this portrays Deathstroke as seen in Defiance. Alright, so I'm going to come clean and admit I know absolutely nothing about this version of Deathstroke. I have no idea why he's covered in all white and black. I don't know if this is like a real world Deathstroke or if it's like some version of Deathstroke from like the Multiverse, like from Elseworlds or whatever. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of go into this figure review going very blind. So if you happen to know anything about this specific version of Deathstroke, feel free to comment down below. So let's get started. Alright, so as I mentioned at the start of the video, this figure belongs to the McFarlane Gold Label Collection, as you can see right here. He comes with a bow staff, a trading card in the back, a display base, and as you can see, it's Deathstroke, but he's covered in all white and black, and he has a cape. On the back of the box, we have some nice character artwork, so I'm assuming this is taken from a comic book. But much like the Superman from Speeding Bullets, I don't know if this guy's from like Elseworlds and from like a story from like years ago, or if this is like a recent thing. So I'd appreciate if anyone out there has the 411 on this guy, just to, you know, leave some information in the comments below. I could have easily just jumped onto like Google and looked him up, but I was kind of excited to review this action figure and just go into it blindly. And let's get this thing open. Alright, so first impressions of the figure while it's in the tray. He looks fantastic. It looks like they're reusing some pieces from one of the previous versions of Deathstroke, and I'll grab that in a minute. He has his trading card and display base. We have his pretty long bow staff, or maybe it's some sort of, I don't know, electro staff, who knows. It kind of reminds me of the staffs wielded by the Magna Guards in Revenge of the Sith, if you know what I'm talking about. He has a very white cape. It's a somewhat thin material, but it's a little stiff, to be honest. Alright, so we have Deathstroke from Defiance. I have no idea what that is, but it's a cool looking figure. When I first saw it in the store, alright, so I bought this at my local Target. Immediately when I saw him from the distance, I thought it was the Ghostmaker figure that we received months ago. Just because there's like a very striking similarity in their color scheme with the black and white. But then when I got closer, I'm like, oh, this is a Deathstroke figure. It's not Ghostmaker. And looking at it, it kind of reminds me of the comic version of the Marvel character Taskmaster. If you're familiar with that character, he kind of wears black and white also. And he's also kind of like a bounty hunter, mercenary kind of type of character. So immediately this kind of echoes kind of like Taskmaster kind of vibes, especially with the black, the white, and especially the chainmail body armor. And as I stated earlier, it looks like there's some reuse because these leg pieces look like the same leg pieces that we got from the Deathstroke Rebirth figure. And I happen to have that on hand right here. So this figure we received some months ago. This is Deathstroke from DC Rebirth. There's a comic book artwork, I think, by Tony Daniel, I believe. And here's a comparison. So if you look carefully, you can notice there is some reuse. The legs appear to be the same. They have the same holster straps, the same sheath on the leg. They have identical belts. The only thing difference is that this one's all white. The arm pieces, on the other hand, are different. This one has scale mail on the bicep and has this shoulder piece, whereas this arm does not have the scale mail. And it looks like these arms, his left arm here, might be identical with the exception of the shoulder piece. The torsos look to be different, and the heads might be identical also, except for the colors. And of course, you have this guy has a cape on him. So yeah, here it looks like, you know, there's some reuse going on here. Real quick, let's take a look at Deathstroke's staff. Clean details. You know, there's some knurling on the handles. You can see the kind of like wraps. There's almost kind of like a ribbed pattern towards the end of the bow staff on both ends. The staff is surprisingly long also. It's almost as tall as the figure. And the figure itself stands in, if I had to guess, I'm going to say 7.5 inches. Let's see if I'm right. It falls a little short of 7.5. For a size comparison, here's an older McFarlane Batman figure. You know, the older McFarlane figures are slightly bigger and a little bit taller. Let's take a look at him up close. Alright, some of the detailing on him is kind of hard to see. The black on him is surprisingly non-photogenic. It doesn't capture that well under my lighting. It just kind of blends into the background. Let me get some white against here to bring out the details a little bit better. Try to improve the contrast. Alright, so here's a look at him up close. As you can see, it looks like the same head as the DC Rebirth Deathstroke. It's a nice shade of white. It's a really, really pure white, which I can really appreciate. On the scale mail, you can notice there's some silver dry brushing to really bring out the detail, which looks really, really nice. It's kind of funny that this figure came out too at this time, because when I was at my local Target, not only did they have this figure in stock, but they also had the Marvel Legends MCU Moon Knight. And this Moon Knight's also a very white character. So I just thought it was kind of very coincidental that you'd have two very white, similarly dressed superhero characters. Here's the back of the cape. Like I pointed out earlier, the cape seems like it's made of a thin material, but it feels a little like stiff. It doesn't fold as easily as some of the other capes we've gotten in the past. But I do like how it's pretty dynamic in the way it's cut and shaped out. It almost resembles like a Spawn cape, especially with the sharp points and the like really, you know, like angular edges. But man, I really dig this white overall. The white contrasted against this black is really striking. Beautiful use of contrast. Let's examine his articulation. Deathstroke's head rotates left and right. Will he look down? He looks down about there. Will he look up? Not so much. His arms rotate. they feel really loose, to be honest. These don't feel like the tightest of all arms. As you can see here, it kind of floats around a little bit. It's on that ball-socketed butterfly joint. And due to the shoulder armor up here in the cape, when you try to move it upwards, it's going to collide with the cape. So it kind of hinders movement a little. He does have the standard bicep cut, double pinned elbows. Wrist articulations cleverly hidden underneath the cuff of his wrist guard right there. Mid-torso cut, which allows for some swivel, also with the swivel waist. Doesn't crunch forward all that much. He could kick out about there. Not capable of full splits. Double pinned knees, like the previous figure. And standard ankle and toe articulation. So it's a very unique take on this character. Like I said, I don't know if this is like a standard Deathstroke, or if it's someone, you know, if it's a crazy variant from like the Multiverse or whatever. You know, if I had to guess, maybe it's an Elseworlds version of this character, but I'm probably very wrong on that. So the bow staff is surprisingly very, very soft and flexible. I'm trying to get it into his hand right now so I can pose him. It's almost too soft. As you can see, there he goes. Try to get a little bit straighter. So here he is with his staff. And look, I mean, it's really flexible. It's kind of to the point where it's a little bit annoying. I'd appreciate if it was a slightly stiffer material, but then you kind of run the risk of it snapping in half. But for all intent and purposes, it works. But yeah, look how soft that staff is. It just doesn't want to... Has no, like... it's not as rigid as I'd like. It's just very... it's very flexible. But it looks cool. It's a very interesting take on the character. Very striking. You know, I think I'm most impressed with the color scheme. Surprisingly, he has what looks like a hood on the back. It'd be nice if they gave us like a separate head option, like maybe, you know, actually give this a hooded look, because I think that'd look really awesome. Overall, very solid figure. Now, is this something I'd recommend? If you're familiar with this character, I would say yes. Otherwise, if you have any of the previously released Deathstrokes and, you know, this different color scheme doesn't really appeal to you, I could say maybe pass on it, but do your homework first. You know, for all I know, this could be like a super, super important character in the DCU, and, you know, maybe this is something I'm overlooking. I do think it's a striking piece to have on your shelf just because of the color scheme. He's really going to stand out. And I really liked the Ghostmaker figure that we received months ago, and I think this would be a great figure to complement that on the shelf. You know, they might not be related in terms of like story or whatnot, but you know, if you're looking at your shelf, I think there's a very appealing visual aesthetic to having, you know, these black and white characters to accent your display space. Overall, excellent looking figure. For me, an easy 8 to 8.5 out of 10. It's a very striking figure. And I think if you're a customizer, there's some great pieces here to use. And I do think this would make a great base body as well. Like his logo on his chest is actually just screened on, so it's not a molded detail. So, you know, you can easily just paint over it if you wanted to use this for some sort of interesting custom. It's really, really cool. Alright, so let's wrap this one up. With that being said, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.